Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Everyday Healthy Human podcast. My name is Jen Rulon, and you may know me as Coach Jen. Today, my guest is Ron Oppenheimer,
Hi,
who I
everyone.
found, who I found on Instagram and was very inspired by his athleticism. And if y'all have seen Circus Soleil, any type of that acrobatic level of fitness, it's absolutely incredible. And as a triathlete, as a fitness person, I appreciate these human beings that can do these acts. And Ron will say it's a circus act. And if you've ever, like I said, if you've ever seen a show, whether that would be at a Circus Soleil or any type of circus like aerial, silk, anything, poles, like Ron will explain it way more than better than I will, but their fitness level is way beyond that I can even fathom. So, Ron, thank you so much for joining me today, and welcome.
Thank you so much. I am super duper happy to be here.
Thanks. So, tell the audience, the followers, give me like a 1 to 2 minute elevator speech of who you are, and then we'll really dive in.
Okay, elevator speech of who I am. I grew up in Berkeley, California. I'm the youngest of four siblings, and I grew up doing both dance and gymnastics. And around 8 years old, accidentally fell into circus. It was kind of a funny story how it happened. My sister was doing gymnastics with me, and we switched gyms. And there wasn't a men's program at the gym we were at, and my mom said, "Try this circus class until I find you somewhere to do gymnastics." And then it was fun. And then about a year later, I saw two different circus shows, one by the Seven Fingers, which is a very big circus company that performs internationally, and then the other one by Cirque du Soleil. And apparently I went to my mom at 9 years old when my brother went off to university crying because I didn't want to go to normal university. I wanted to be a circus artist. That was my decision as a 9-year-old. And I managed to stick with it for another 9 years until I hit 18 and finished high school, and moved to Montreal temporarily to go to the National Circus School there in Montreal. And since then, I've been performing and working internationally as a circus
Yeah.
artist.
Well, and we sort of talked briefly about this, but I worked at SeaWorld for many years, and I had a lot of friends that I believe a lot of friends were from Montreal, or they went up to they were divers, they were circus. I mean, what is the correct term? Circus artist?
I think it really depends on the person, to be honest, who you ask,
Okay,
because everyone likes to label themselves differently, and some people don't like labels. So
right.
I identify as a circus artist, but I also, like, if we get into more specifics, I'm an acrobat, but I'm also an aerialist, because that kind of splits people that like to be in the air, people like to be in the ground. I grew
Yeah.
up doing both, so I tend to get a lot of my work as an aerialist, but also as an acrobat with Chinese pole and other disciplines. So I'm kind of a mix of those two, but I would say like circus artist is a good term. Yeah.
Okay. So then, yeah, let's talk a little bit about that exactly. Because people, you know, my typical guests lately have been runners, triathletes,
hmm
um, that type of thing. So this is at a totally different level. And I love the fact that you were like at 8 years old, 9 years old, you're like, this is what I'm going to do. And that is beautiful. So how did you start other than gymnastics? Like what type of classes do they have for you as a 9-year-old?
So kind of all over the world, there tends to be a bunch of youth programs that are called youth circuses. So there was one nearby where I was like at the exact gym I was moved to. And so I tried like a couple general recreational classes, and it was fun. And I had some skill sets because I already came from gymnastics and was dancing. So I
Right.
tried a couple of them. It worked really well, and then I eventually joined that youth circus. So I was in that youth circus for about 2 years, doing mostly my first aerial discipline was aerial silks, as most
Yep.
people's is. But I was also learning how to juggle, do acrobatics, do partner acrobatics, kind of everything involved with circus in a younger youth circus. And then I ended up switching around 10 and a half, 11 years old to a different gym over in San Francisco, called the San Francisco Youth Circus and at Circus Center. And I started learning Chinese acrobatics there. So I started doing Chinese pole, which is like a steel pole coated in rubber. It's about 20 feet tall that you climb up and do flips on. as well as hoop diving, which are like hoops that are stuck on top of each other, and you dive through them and do flips, and some other tutor board and some other disciplines like that. And I kind of stuck with all of those until I was 18 and went off to circus school.
Wow. That's incredible. Like, you're one of the acts that like would be on America's Got Talent that I would just sit there and be like, wow.
They have asked me to do that show many times,
Have
and I've
they
said no
you
many times.
ah,
I've been unavailable and it hasn't really worked out, so I'm not opposed
that's
to doing
okay.
the future. I have done
Right.
Georgia's Got Talent though, like in Tbilisi,
Really?
Georgia, the country.
Yeah.
Yes, I was in the semifinals for that a few years ago.
Good for you.
It was
That's
very fun.
great.
It was very random. It was very fun.
Very random. Yeah, I could totally see that. I was like, and I'd be like cheering you on. I'd be like, oh my God, he's got the show in Vegas, man. He's going to Vegas, like I just anyways. Very cool. What so I talk about like change and transformation and like
Hmm.
what challenges did you have to overcome to become a circus artist? Like what as a maybe as a child, maybe now, whatever that might be, was there something specific that really set you apart from like that challenge, like an injury or whatever? I don't know.
I
Or
would
somebody
say the
telling you that you're
challenges,
crazy.
a lot of people told me I was crazy, first off.
Yep.
I was very lucky in the fact that my family never thought I was crazy, which is really good. I have three
Beautiful.
older siblings, so I guess my parents had gotten really chilled at the idea of me doing something really random. The one rule was I had to get into some good universities first before I could drop everything and go be a circus artist, to make sure I had a plan, essentially. But
Right.
I see there are kind of two main challenges. The first one being physically, to become a professional circus artist, you have to like get a bunch of acrobatic skills to a certain degree
Yeah.
to be able to start performing and working with it professionally, as well as learning how to grow as an artist, because it's not just a sport, it's also a sport mixed as an art form. So you have to be able to express yourself and express emotions and stories through your movement. So
Mhm.
learning that is also a challenge. Some parts of it come more naturally to me, some parts come less naturally to me or to others. The other challenge was definitely my own personal knowledge that, like, being the youngest of four siblings, um, all three of my siblings, as we grew up in the Bay Area in San Francisco, went into technology, and working in tech. And I love tech as well. Like, I'm currently getting my computer science degree on the side, but the knowledge that, like, if I go to be a circus artist, I'm going to be away from home a lot, and I will still have a wonderful life, and I get to see many, many places, which is something I've always wanted to do, but like I won't be around my family as much. My family is based mostly in the Bay Area and then also over in Israel and Germany. That's
Oh
where
wow.
our roots are from.
Okay.
And so I've had to learn to accept that, like, I live most of my life on tour, which is really, really
Yeah.
fun. But like, I guess I only see my family on breaks. So I guess that was one challenge. The other challenge was just we're having to work really hard over many years to get skills high enough to be able to work professionally.
Yeah. What like I'm trying to think like do you do type of strength training? Like what type of routine do you have? Or is it based off of like just the silk and the pole? Like you'll have to educate me on that because I'm very
That is a
intrigued by that.
great question. So the training includes a bunch of things. Typically, when I approach a training for the day, I'll start by, I guess, warming my body up. However, if I do that, either I'll, like, if I'm in a gym that has one, I'll hop on an elliptical or treadmill or rowing machine quickly just to, like, get my body warmed up. And I'll typically stretch for about 45 minutes to an hour to, like,
Okay.
actively
Wow.
stretch. Stretching is not just like warming up my splits, but like doing active flexibility, which is kind of
Yeah.
it's kind of a conditioning in a way where you're actively like working your muscles to be able to have strength in your range of motion.
Hmm.
And that's required to be able to have extreme extension and have oversplits and a bendy back and bendy shoulders and things like that. And then I'll typically do a little bit of core conditioning, and then I'll do some handstands for about 30 minutes, maybe an hour if I'm feeling like it. This is if I'm not doing shows, if I'm just training for myself.
Sure.
And then I'll probably go onto one of the apparatuses I'm training that day, be it Chinese pole, aerial rope, aerial pole, straps, which are things that dangle from the air and you spin in, or just
Oh yeah.
general acrobatics, whatever I'm in the mood to do that day. Or if I have a project coming up on one of those, I'll work on that. I'll kind of train
Hmm.
there for an hour or two working on skills. Maybe I'll switch to another one. And then if I have energy after that, I'll probably condition a little bit, or some days I just decide I'm in the mood to condition because I haven't in a few days. So I usually do conditioning on the apparatus, doing skills at a harder version of the skill. And
Okay.
every once in a while, about once, maybe twice a week, I'll go into an actual like gym within our circus gyms where there's like pull-up bars, things like that, and I'll work out and do push-ups and pull-ups and abs
Sure.
and conditioning like that. In all honesty, I don't really know how to use weights at all. I never really have growing up. We've
Really?
always worked with body weights, with your own body
Yeah.
weight. So
Which is incredible.
yeah, it's really surprising for people when they hear that. But I have some friends, some people in circus do use weights. I just never
Sure.
have. The disciplines I do, they don't really require it because I don't really throw people. I usually throw myself places. Um,
Yep.
but actually, I think I have plans with a couple of friends to like teach me how to bench press and like do squats holding weights because I just never do, and I was like, I don't know the
Oh my
proper
God.
techniques. Um,
Right.
it sounds really kind of stuck up sometimes, but some circus people generally call like a normal gym a muggle gym because we don't know how to use the things in those gyms. And if we do go to those
So,
gyms, we start doing handstands in those gyms and we get weird looks.
oh my God. I love it.
So
I
the
love
term is
it.
like a muggle gym for us because like if I go into those places, I don't know what any of the machines do. I know how to use a treadmill, an elliptical,
Yeah.
a rowing machine. And other than that, I'm just gonna like work in the corner on a little mat and stretch and do handstands and push-ups. Like I don't know what to do.
And you'll do handstand push-ups on your like as you're walking, and everybody's like, "What is he doing?" Yeah,
People look weirdly at us. Yes, that tends to happen
yeah,
because I'm like, this is what I do.
right, right.
Yeah.
Which I talk about. I have a fitness app, and I always tell
Hmm.
people that like you guys don't need a dumbbell or whatever. The body weight is incredible. Like push-ups, squats, tricep dips. Like there's so
Yeah.
many opportunities to work out just with your body alone. And you're
That's
the
all I
prime
know how to do
example.
it, honestly.
That's all you know. That's
I would love to do other things
incredible,
as well.
Ron.
It's just weird for me to do the switch. I don't know how.
But, and two, like, it's so funny because I'm sure people, like, when you do go into the gym, people are like, oh my God, what is he doing? He doesn't know what he's doing. And then all of a sudden they would see you out there, like, at a show doing your, like, the fitness level, and they'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's, like, it's just that whole gym mentality that it's like, oh, he's
Yeah.
not under a bar, you know?
It's one of my
Uh,
favorite things also in the other direction when you have someone who's really, really strong and like a super athletic person,
yeah,
but never done circus before, trying to learn something in circus
yeah,
because they have the strength for it and maybe they have body awareness, but it's such a different way of doing it. Like,
100%.
and now you're gonna go upside down and lift yourself into this really weird shape and grab over here, and it's
Yeah,
just both ways is really fun. For me to be
right.
challenged in some ways and for other people to be challenged in the others, it's just a fun way to switch it up.
Yeah. And for you, you can't have the bulk. Like you can't be
I
bulky.
personally I can't because I'm an aerialist, so I don't want my legs to be too
Right.
heavy. They're already very, very long because I was born with really long legs,
How tall
which
are
is
you?
nice. I'm 5'10",
Okay. Okay.
and I usually say I'm like 75% leg. I have to wear like 34 length pants to be able to
Oh,
fit in them
wow.
well. Unless I want them to be
Okay.
a little cropped, then 32 is okay. Um, so yeah, I don't want my legs to necessarily get bigger,
Right.
because it just makes things harder when I lift them up while I'm in the air. But other people who discipline is, let's say, hand to hand, which means that there's two people stacking on top of each other, balancing and doing flips. The one
Yeah.
throwing them, who we call a porter, is going to
Yeah.
be the one who has to, um, they can bulk up a bunch and get
That's
really
true.
strong. Yeah.
That is true. Because like I've said, I've seen some of the shows, and you could, yeah, I like that. The porter that just sits, and
Yeah.
yep, I know exactly what you're talking about. So in your Instagram videos that I've watched, you've teamed up with another gentleman doing silk and pole. Like that's got to be tough mentally, like because you're working with somebody else. It's not just you. And do you guys talk amongst each other? Do you practice? I mean, obviously you practice, but do you put together a routine first and then jump on the pole?
That's a really good question, actually. So I think what you're referring to is I have a couple videos on my Instagram of me doing
Yeah.
aerial straps in a duo with one of my really good friends. His name is
Yes.
Tim. But I have some other videos somewhere along my Instagram and social media of doing duo Chinese pole or duo aerial pole with other friends.
Yeah.
There's like Minnie, who I've done some videos with, her name is. And then Coach, I really like working as a soloist and as a duo, as well as
Okay.
in groups. So in those situations, usually it depends. If it's like a performance, obviously everything's been planned in advance and we know what we're doing.
Sure.
If it's just training, usually have an idea and get in the air and try it, and like kind of half try it, half try the idea and like research where we're going. So like kind of improvise, but kind of not, like a controlled improvisation to test things out. And usually you have someone else sitting and watching, or you're filming it and we look back
Okay.
at it to create. But when we're in the air together doing things, like we fully communicate and talk, and they're always good friends. So
Yeah.
it's not weird in any way. It's just like a different
Right.
approach to performing. It's not solo work, it's group.
Right. Right. Um, can you help, like, your mindset? I can only imagine what type of level that's at, as a circus artist for yourself. How does your mindset, how can your mindset apply to your everyday life, and how can that help? Any tips that you have for the followers about your mindset and how that might
Hmm.
help somebody that's listening?
That's a very good question. Just as a question, do you mean my mindset while I'm performing, while I'm training, or just approaching life in general, or which part of it?
Hmm. How about training first and then life?
Okay. So while I'm training, there's kind of two different aspects to my mindset. The first one is usually to kind of get in touch with my body and see how I'm feeling that day. And depending on that, that's how I'll approach how I tackle training. Because let's say I wake up and my body is incredibly sore and I have a couple bruises in a couple places and a couple things are achy from the day before a show or training or something, I will probably adjust my training about that. Either I'll make it even more intense to kind of work through the soreness to get myself back to normal, or if it's really, really tired, I'll spend some more time stretching and a little bit more chill for the training. Or if I wake up and I'm feeling like I'm really weak, I'll tackle the training more. That's one mindset I always try and focus on. And then the other part is while I'm in the middle of doing acrobatic skills, it's really in a way to focus, but also to relax and live in the moment. Because sometimes I'm doing things on an aerial rope. So it's like a rope that hangs from the ceiling.
Yeah.
And I'm doing release moves is what we call them, which is where you're doing different tricks that you let go and you catch again. Either a front
Yes, I've
flip, a back
seen
flip, a twist
those.
to the side.
It's
It's super
incredible.
fun. You always have to have a mat below you because you can fall. And
Right.
one of the reasons you need to make sure, like I need to make sure I live in the moment when I'm doing those is because if I'm going to connect, let's say, 2 or 3 different release moves at once, like I don't know, a twist to the side, another twist to the side, and then a different type of skill. If I'm thinking about the second twist while I'm doing the first one,
Yeah.
I'm going to mess up the first one and fall to the ground. And although there's a mat, it's still not fun. It can kind of hurt. It's not a good time. And if you're on a stage, you do not want to do that. So I
Right.
have to always make sure to like breathe and just take one step at a time, be like, this is where I am right now, and this is what I'm doing right now, and that's all I'm
Yeah.
thinking about. And I think that's a good way to kind of approach life is before you do something, kind of think and plan where you want to go with it and what your long-term goal is. But when you're in the middle of doing it, don't overthink everything you're doing and just take a deep breath and be in the moment because that's the
Oh my
only
God.
way to do it successfully and like well.
That's that's beautiful. Like I
Thank you.
think I, as a, you know, as doing many Ironmans, like that's the same type of concept. Like I had to worry about that, like the swim when I was in the swim. I had to worry about the bike when I was on the bike. I had to worry about the run when I was on the run. I couldn't think of mile 15 on the run when I'm still at mile 50 on the
Because then
bike.
you're
You
just
know
going
what
to
I
be
mean?
scared of it all and you're going to be like, oh, it's going to suck and just
Right.
stop working. Side note,
Exactly.
I've never tried an Ironman. There's 15 miles of running.
There's 26. It's a marathon.
Oh God.
It's
Oh
a
God.
2.4 mile
The
swim,
longest I've
112-mile
ever
bike.
ran, the longest I've ever ran is a 5K. I've
Hey,
done them
that's
on treadmills before, and then I think I did
yeah,
one. It's never like officially just like a ran 5K. I think one
right.
time, right when COVID was hitting, I ran a 5K like at a park near my house. Oh, I did not warm up enough, and one calf just died for like a week.
Yeah, right.
It's funny how like I am in very good shape. It's not like me trying to sound cool because I'm saying like I'm honestly in very good shape, but only in the way I'm in shape. And I'm sure if I were to try and switch
100%.
to what you're doing, it would take me a while to adapt my body to be able to do the things you do or other people do because
Right.
it's just not how I've trained.
Well, guess what? I'm retired.
Okay,
Like
but still,
my body, but my body's
I'm
like
sure you could
I'm
run
just
a lot
yeah.
farther than I could.
Right. Yeah, but you're right. You have to focus on your task at hand. You can't be worrying about flip number 5 or whatever because you're focusing on that first one or whatever that
Yeah.
might be like.
And not
Um,
only that, circus artists in that way are kind of similar to gymnasts. Not exactly, but in the way of
yes.
I don't train endurance in the same way other like athletes do. I'm not a marathon runner at all. I'm more
Sure.
of a sprinter, but also a little bit longer of a
100.
sprint than a sprinter would be, because the
Yep.
typical circus act is, let's say, 4 to 8 minutes. Mine tend to be around 6. So it's about,
Okay.
so when I'm doing a solo act, it's about 6 minutes of non-stop acrobatics that are really, really, really intense, up in the air, that are really dangerous skills that you have to breathe through, and
Ah,
it's cardio for 6 minutes. And a lot of times in a
yeah.
show, you're doing a lot before that and a lot after that, and you might have multiple acts. So it's a lot of cardio moments, but it's like in an act, even each sequence is about a minute and a half, and then you have like 5 seconds or something on the to breathe on the ground into the next section. But it's kind of
Right.
like a 6 minute cardio sprint, and you have a few of those in a show and doing things on the side. So you're kind of still, it's kind of still a cardio the entire show, but there's
Ooh.
moments that are really intense.
Yeah.
And gymnasts, for example, they usually have a minute and a half for like a
Yep.
floor routine or something, which is much shorter, but still like they have to be really good for that much time. But like I don't do a 3 hour run. Like
No.
I'd be much better at, like, even when I do cardio, maybe I row for 20 minutes or run for 20 minutes and I'm done,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
can't go farther than that. I don't want to. I don't want my
You
cardio to
don't
be
want
built
to.
for that.
No.
I also get bored.
And right. Well, let
I
me
can't.
explain this. Let me explain this to maybe some of our followers who do cycling. Like a prime example for a lot of my athletes, I'll put them through a four rounds of 6 minute hard interval. That's
Mhm.
exactly what you're
That's exactly
doing
what I'm doing. Yeah, but
in
it's
a
just
show.
instead of that, it's flipping in the air.
It's
Yeah.
flipping in the air and building in your strength. And you guys, I cannot wait to show you like the videos of what Ron's done. It's insane and it's beautiful, beautiful. You'll have to send me a couple so then I
I
can
will. I
add them
will.
to whatever. What let's see. Are there any habits or practices that you have adopted as a circus artist that applies to everyday life?
Hmm. I would say maybe, let's say, warming up is something
Mm,
that's extremely vital as an acrobat, because I can't. I have a split on the ground when I'm not warmed up, but it's not comfortable. And if I actually take the time to
yeah.
warm my body, it's a lot safer for my health long term. And I just approach training that day better and performing that day better if I take the time to warm up, and it's a necessary part of being an artistic athlete.
Sure.
But I would say, in terms of the idea of warming up, is whenever you approach anything in life, if you take a minute, like if I'm going to sit down and like write an essay, instead of just diving into it, having no idea what I'm even doing, can we sit down, be like, what I'm about to do, and like prep a little bit, and then tackle the
Yeah.
assignment or the project or whatever it is.
Right. And I think what I like about what just sort of our story and your story is that you're very intuitive and you're very in tune with your body and mentally, physically, emotionally. It seems like to me, just like listening to hear you talk, because you have to be. You have to
Yeah,
be when you're up there. Yeah.
it's if you're not, it can be a matter of life and death. Yeah,
100%. 100%. Um, where can listeners find you online? And if
listeners
there's
can
anything
find
you want
me
to plug.
online. I wouldn't say, I guess they can find me not to listen to me, but to see me, because it's more of a visual thing. On
Right.
Instagram, as well as I have a TikTok that hasn't been active in a little while, but I have TikTok. So Instagram,
Okay.
TikTok, YouTube. I also have a website, which is just my name.com, like ronoppenheimer.com. So all of my accounts are at Ron Oppenheimer. It's very easy.
Perfect.
So
Okay.
yeah, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you find your
Great.
things.
Great. And then one final thought, and you might have already answered it, but we're going to wrap it up. Um, what is one final thought that you could give our followers about how to start their own transformation and become their own beautiful butterfly?
I would say that the best way to start your own transformation of turning into a butterfly is figure out first what type of butterfly you want to be. So be that, do you want to go be a circus artist? Do you want to be a marathon runner? Whatever challenge you want to approach, figure out what that is, and then sit down and do some research of what that requires and see how you'd be able to figure that out. So like for me as a circus artist, it was start taking some classes, and then as you start to get comfortable with it, building up from there. So like don't be worried about starting from the beginning, getting your basics and solid, get your basics to a point where it's a very solid foundation. And then from there, you can just build up in whatever your goal is and succeed eventually, as long as you keep at it.
I love it. And guess what? Even if you're 29, 49, 59, and you want to jump into the circus world and that's what you want to do, that's what you wanted to do, then do it. Like,
completely. I mean, I'm 25 now, and I guess I started circus as an 8-year-old. I did stuff before that.
right,
So I'm one of the few that started very, very young. There's not that many that start that age or earlier
right.
even. One of my best friends found circus when she was 16. I have other friends that found circus at 25 or at
Yep.
28, and some of them work with Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah.
Like there's friends that you can start at any age and you can still find a way to be successful to the PowerPoint you want to be and still enjoy it. Because what is success if it's not just having fun?
Right. I love that. Well, we are going to end it on that. And
sounds good.
Thank you so much, Ron, for jumping on board. And if followers, if you are loving the Everyday Healthy Human podcast, we would love for you to rate, subscribe, share this episode with your friends, leave a comment, because
make it go viral.
Because in Costa Rica, we say pura vida. Ciao.